Disenchantment is back with part 2 to the animated show that received a very good reception when part 1 aired last year. It's been highly anticipated. Unlike Groenings' other show at the moment, there only seems to be good things to say about part 1. So, how does this latest installment compare? Well, let's find out. Before I go ahead, make sure you go over to my Patreon where I've recently restructured the tiers and the perks you can get. Take a look and see what you think. So without further ado, I'm Brainpilot and here is a review of Disenchantment Part 2. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers, so watch with caution. The story. The first season had a great story that I was hooked on through the entirety of the show. You go on a journey with Bean, Elfo, Luci and the world of Dreamland, and this is something that I was expecting to see again in Part 2. For the most part, I was a big fan of the story that we were given. I liked the way it picked up from the end of the first season. It felt natural and that we didn't really miss anything that would have happened in between. As well as that, the trip to hell was an element that I did really enjoy. The inclusion of the character of God and the moments with Elfo also made me laugh. The latter ventures were also amusing and entertaining to watch, such as Bean's discovery of writing, the introduction of Dreamland, and the accusation of the attempted murdering of Zog. Despite all of those great moments that I did enjoy watching, I can't help but feel as though it did dip for a couple of episodes in the middle. As I said, there were many elements to the story that I did really like. The trip to hell and the way that hell was structured was interesting, exciting, and it was great to see Bean and Elfo reunited. Luci's wit really did come across in that episode as well. One thing I would say that I was slightly disappointed with was the lack of screen time that the trio had together. Together, they bring out the best in each other. There's a perfect balance. Luci even notes it when he stated that he didn't even realize that Bean was gone. It's something that I don't feel as though we got as much of when compared to the first part, and it's a shame. The finale of the season is something that I did enjoy. It was a great storyline for the final 2 episodes, and they tied together seamlessly. Although the trio's lives were at stake, overall, on screen, it didn't really feel like it was represented that well in the way that the characters were acting. The characters themselves are relatively carefree, and I suppose it's a trait that even ran through to the point where they were literally being burnt on the stake. I'm intrigued to see how they pick up from the end of this part. Will it be directly after, or further into the future? Will Zog die? Will we see this new land buried beneath Dreamland? Who knows, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing how the story will evolve. It's going to be a whole new season, something that we've not had before, so it could even be structured completely different to what we've seen. There's still so much to explore after the first 2 parts that we've watched, and I can't wait to see what the trio gets up to next. The characters. The characters in this show are what makes it so great. In part 2, I have to say that the character Prince Merkama the Pig was absolutely hilarious. Every time he was on screen, he had me in pieces. The ensemble cast that made up Dreamland, the majority of them delivered very well, especially Oddfall. He has that Mr. Burns feel and is only out for himself, and I quite like that. Anyway, moving on. Bean. Bean is the main character that you follow throughout the show. At points, she can be slightly annoying, but you can't help but love her kick-ass, throw caution to the wind attitude. She's somebody who does generally want the best for herself and the people of Dreamland, but it sometimes doesn't come across that way. I think the character is voiced perfectly, and I enjoyed the performance even more in part 2 when compared to part 1. Elfo. Elfo is one part of the comic relief in this show. He's oblivious to social situations, however, at times, he can be fully aware of what's going on. As an elf, he's always nice, and that's still highlighted on many occasions throughout part 2. I'm a massive fan of Elfo, as he always does make me laugh. He's a light-hearted character that it doesn't take much to watch or form a connection with, and it was great to see him return to the show. Obviously, they weren't going to kill him off. Luci. Luci is most probably my favourite character in the show. He's the epitome of not caring about anything and pulling it off well. Luci claims to be this horrible demon at times, when in reality, he cares for his friends just as much as they care about him. In losing his wings, his mortality, he gave it all up for them, and this character has gone on a great journey throughout the 20 episodes. He's definitely the best character in my opinion. Zog. Zog is the king of Dreamland and is essentially a pig personified. He eats all day and treats his own people appallingly. But all of that aside, he's great to watch on screen. Just like Bean, he's a character that has grown on me in part 2 when compared to the first. I feel like we got to see more of this character and his intentions, and that's something that I was glad of. I don't think he'll die in the new season. He's too much of a main character and brings far too much to the show to just be killed off like that. Final thoughts. Overall, I would say that I did very much enjoy this new part to the Disenchantment story. Groening has come up with something that's original and has some of what made The Simpsons great in its early years. We have 3 strong characters that we can form good connections with, and that's definitely one of the most important things. It's full of adventure, great humour, a one-of-a-kind art style, and it's one of the most talked about animated shows on the platform. And let's bear in mind there's only been one whole season. I would say part 2 is a lot better than the first, and the world and characters that have been created feel a lot more established and like they belong there. Go and give it a watch. If you enjoy a good, easy to watch animated show, this one's for you. So, there you have it. What I think of Disenchantment Part 2. What do you think of Part 2? Before you go, make sure you go over to my Twitter, @brainpilot_, and see what I think about many other TV shows and movies, in real time. I tweet about them all over there. Did you enjoy Part 2? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time. I'd just like to say thank you to my patrons B-Cypher, Lucy Nathanson, and Fernie.